Welcome everyone to the TGCC 2020 Central and South America Regional Competition. My name is Lila. I'm the country manager of our Crimson Education office here in Brazil. And Crimson has powered TGCC from the beginnings of the competition because we just believe that it's imperative for ambitious, talented high school students like yourselves to have an outlet to gain practical skills while you're still in high school that will give you the competitive edge as you proceed on to higher education opportunities and throughout your careers. And that's exactly what we do here at Crimson. We support students in achieving their educational aspirations and reaching their full potential through personalized education. So it's a pleasure for us to be partnered with TGCC for this event today. I'll be back at the end to tell you a bit more about Crimson. But in the meantime, congratulations to all of our students that are presenting today on being regional finalists for this year's edition of TGCC 2020, which after the number of participants that we've had, we can say without hesitation that it's the largest online global high school case competition in the world. So you all should be very proud of yourselves for this accomplishment. We've had over 600 teams participating, so congratulations for making this regional round for Central and South America. It's a huge accomplishment. Okay, and I'm also going to go over just a couple of other quick facts about our regional rounds. So again, this year we had 2,500 competitors register for TGCC. That's 600 teams, and of those 600 teams, we selected 10%, 60 teams to be regional finalists. So very competitive, and once again, a huge accomplishment for all of you who are present here today. We have 26 judges and mentors who have so graciously volunteered their time to participate with us and to contribute to making TGCC exceptional. Students were also invited to participate in 10+ workshops and webinars throughout the competition to get them inspired, to help them prepare, to build the best case solutions possible. Our students had just 7 days to crack the case, which is incredible, throughout the 6 regions that are participating in the competition. And we had our case partner, ACSL, which also very generously contributed to bringing together a real world case that could really engage and stimulate our students throughout the competition. Fantastic. So now we are going to see our first of our, before that, let's just reinforce who our fantastic judges are with us here today. So many of you engaged with them during our Meet Your Judges event about 2 weeks ago. So we have Caio, Carolina, and Kleber, who once again have volunteered their time to engage with you all during this competition. I'm sure they're going to come at you with some amazing questions, and they're super excited to see everything that our teams have put together. So without further delays, let's get started. I'm going to ask that we bring our first team into the room. So that is team ID 69, João Vitor, Elias, Camila, and Nayara. So let's just double check. All right, it looks like our students are in with us now. Awesome. Okay, so before you guys start, I just want to go over a couple of things with you. So first of all, you will have 10 minutes to present and 5 minutes for questions. We will cut you off if you go over time, so please stay within the time limit. Also, try to be concise when you respond to the judges' questions so that you have time to answer as many questions as possible, okay? We will let you know through the Zoom chat, so you guys seeing the Zoom chat button. If you guys could keep the chat open at all times throughout your presentation, we will let you know when you have 2 minutes left, again, when you have 30 seconds left, and when your time is up, okay? I am going to be passing the slides for you. So when you want to transition to the next slide, please say next slide so that I can pass over for you all. All right? Can I get a thumbs up from everybody that you're ready? Yes? Okay, awesome. We're super excited. I'm going to count you down. You can you can unmute yourselves. Okay, so 3, 2, 1, good luck.
So today we'll be presenting our SSL Global Expansion Strategy. Oh, good morning. I'm Camila. Here we have Nayara, Elias, and João Vitor, and we'll be guiding you through the next slides. Please, the next one. So here are some of the main issues ACSL is facing while trying to expand internationally. First, drone regulations. This can be a problem if the country we are willing to go has some conservative regulations. So to solve this, during our research, we found out that the European Union countries have all the same regulations and they are kind of permissive, which is a good choice. 2, lack of internal resources. So this lack of internal resources can refer to lack of equipment, lack of employees in the country we are willing to go. And Elias will be discussing how establishing a branching unique can solve this. Third, lack of specialized people in global expansion. Nayara will later be discussing how creating a new division of the HR sector can solve this. For lack of partnerships, we want to make SSL more attractive to possible partners or customers. So to solve this, we'll be addressing our marketing recommendations, and Nayara will also be discussing this later. And after all, João Vitor will be summarizing everything on a timeline, and I'll come back later for financial projections. Please, the next one. Okay, we need to have a starting point. So we thought during our research that European market is a better option than the Latin American one. We found out, as I said previously, that the regulations are permissive and this encourages SSL to have success there. If you take a look on the top 10 drone markets, we notice that 4 of them are European and 3 of them are part of the European Union. And we choose Germany as our target country because we found out that SSL could have some advantages there. So comparing SSL to an average German drone enterprise, SSL has way more employees and it exists for a longer time in the market. So it means that SSL is more experienced. And we need also to take a look on the potential of growth the German drone market has, because it will increase a lot on the next decade. Next slide, please.
Research shows that there is a variety of ways in which drones could be efficiently applied to the German market. In this graph, we can see the ones that have more and less use in the industrial way. ACSL works with the segments of delivery, inspection, disaster relief, and emergency use case. So we find that both the first and the second segments in the plot could be used by our company and will be used by our company. So we find that surveying and inspection are our present or short-term solution. And then we will use warehouse management as a long-term one, since a report from the Federal Institute of Technology from Zurich pointed out that it may have a promising future in the German market. Next one, please. Then we have the competitors analysis table. We found 2 main competitors to ACSL, which are Vectorverse and Microdrones. Vectorverse is a German enterprise which is currently working in the segments of industry, inspection, firefighting, search and rescue. It works with the German firefighters, police, and SWAT. And we think that it's working in, it's working in the industrial and also in the commercial sector, but it's currently more focused in the industrial one. Then we have Microdrones, which is a Canadian American and later on became a German enterprise, which works with the segments of mapping, construction, mining, agriculture, science and research, and inspection. This company is used in mines and places with gas exits or fields that need to be analyzed or monitored. So it's mostly focused on the industrial sector, even though it has also a big presence in the commercial one. The qualities that make ACSL stand are those ones referred to the sale of drones. We found that these 2 big companies are specialized and focused in long sizes companies, and our strategy is focused on low and medium sized ones. Next one, please. Then we have the Munich branch. Why we chose Munich? Well, Munich is Bavaria's capital, and Bavaria holds the largest drone market in Germany. The fact that it's an industrialized and technological city makes it to have a better environment and a better infrastructure to welcome our company. Furthermore, 48 out of 100 successful medium-sized German companies are from Bavaria and Baden-Württemberg, the neighbor state. This will make that we have a greater approach to these 2 states. We think that having Bavaria and Baden-Württemberg could be a good bridge to reach the whole country. We will later be discussing how this will be developed by the HR division. Next one, please.
A company as a whole needs to deal with so many issues and perhaps be unable to focus on each one properly. To solve this, ACSL should create a new division to focus only on global expansion related issues. This will help us to enter new markets as well as to strengthen the company in the US and Singapore. Since the main activities this division will be active in are marketing strategy, branch creation, and consequently, the search for potential partners and customers, as you can see on the next slide. Next slide, please. The one before. Thank you. The first thing ACSL needs to do is take in visibility. To achieve this, they need to take part on events and drone expositions in the US, Singapore, and Europe. The second step is acquiring the Germans' trust by connecting with the community. This can be accomplished by donating drones for the local firefight station, which might open the possibility for a partnership with the City Hall or donating drones for a local nonprofit, for example. The third, simultaneously, we should create accounts on social media and have people to administrate them so people worldwide will know SSL's core values and technologies. The fourth part of this strategy is creating an event for the branch's opening. We'll invite small and medium-sized companies from Bavaria and Baden-Württemberg that work on construction or industrial markets, so we can present our technologies as well as possible applications of our drones in their companies. Therefore, all of these steps will create a hype towards the CSL and which will support entering new markets. Next slide, please.
Finally, we got to the risk of migrations. The first risk is the difference of the culture of SSL company and the German companies. So we are going to solve this risk, sending full of German employees that already work at SSL and also hiring employees there. The second risk is that people don't trust enough the company to work there. So we are going to solve this problem by offering competitive wages or also creating a great work environment and also giving bonuses for the salespersons if they beat the sales goals. And the last risk is that customers don't know the SSL company. And we are going to solve this risk creating social medias for the company and so the German people can know the company better. Next slide, please. We finally got to the strategy timeline. First, in 2020, we would start the strategy in the US. And then in 2021, we would open the Munich branch and start hiring people and also start doing drone events to show the German people what our drones can do and their favor. And in 2022, we would continue doing this drones event and continue working on the company and also doing partnerships with other companies that are in Germany. And in the long term, we would open our company to the European Union and also all over the world. Next slide, please.
So here for our financial projections, we took some data provided on the SSL case regarding the years of 2019 and 2020. So I need to take your attention to two letter inconsistencies here. So you see the yellow chart on worst case growth. So this number was supposed to be 78.899. And also the projections for the year of 2020, they are idealistic because as we are on the end of the year, they couldn't be true anymore. Like this could happen if we were in the beginning. But SSL had an overall good performance on the financial projections we have made. And the profitability could be even higher because we did include the services the SSL could offer. So this was our and do you have any questions?
Perfect, just in time. All right, so now you will have 5 minutes for judges' questions. Judges, can you please turn on your cameras and give me a thumbs up if you would like to ask a question? Okay, Kleber.
Hi guys, thank you for the presentation. The first question that I have is, which other markets or ways of entering a new market have you guys considered besides Germany and opening a branch in region?
Okay, so I think I can answer this. When we were researching, we also considered the Latin American one because this is the one we researched at. So we found out that we could have more, we could have this as an approach, but we found out that this is not like a good option because we took Brazil as an example. So most of the demands for Brazilian most of the demand for drones in Brazil are for agriculture, but it's not one of the SSL's forte. And also we took a look on some of the drones that are competing on Brazilian agriculture. and they are way more specialized in agriculture than ours. For example, there's a drone called Pelican. If I'm not wrong, this drone is able to pulverize almost 7 liters of pesticide, and our cell isn't able. And we also found out that our HSL has, on the past, produced a drone that was specialized for agriculture, but it doesn't anymore. So we predict that they may think that investing in agriculture was not, and also Chile and Colombia. I hope this answers you.
I think we had another question from Carol.
Thank you, Laila. Thank you, everyone. Great presentation. My question is on the last slide, actually. What are the assumptions that you made to create the best case and the worst case scenario in the financials?
And I'm sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to join Carol because I have like something on the same question. Congratulations on the presentation. I think it's very good. You were very cohesive when you were speaking. Regarding the financials, I have a question like Carol. I see that there's no growth on sales. I don't know if that was a mistake that was done, but it doesn't seem engaging as a company to receive a scenario where there's no growth on sales year over year. They stand the same. So I would like to understand why you projected that way.
We took HSL's previous sales on 2018, 2019, and 2020 to project this. Like it was a new HSL in Germany. So we took the units of drones sold on each year and divided for 12 the number of months. So approximately there was 40 drones on the first year and 96 on the second, and again 96 on 2020. But the year hasn't ended, so we don't have deep knowledge on financial projections, so we were a little insecure about growing the sales from one year to another because we didn't know any method to do so. So this was our solution for this problem. I hope I answered you guys.
Yes, I'm sorry. I would like to just follow up on that. I think like one of the questions about the exercise was not about the financial projection, so there is no problem like not having done it thoroughly. I think you addressed the main concern that was like how to expand, where to expand. It's good that you get like some background on other countries to expand. The question that I have that's still like financial is like, how do you plan to finance it? How would you fund this expansion? Does the company has cash to finance it?
Well, our current plan is to enter to the market with what we already have. And by our engagement with the community, we plan to have an expansion, a growth in our sales, and therefore win more money that will be purely German money because we will be making it in Germany. So I think that, I don't know if that answered your question.
Everyone, time is up. Thank you so much for your engagement, for your awesome presentation. We ask that you all arrive back into the same Zoom link at 12:50 p.m. Brasilia time, okay, which is when we will announce the winners, all right? So if you guys could please exit the call, I appreciate it. Thanks so much, and we'll see you later.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, welcome team ID number 125, Giovanni, Nicola, Sebastian, and Kawan. Thank you so much. Can you guys all turn on your video, please? I'll give you guys a couple of seconds. Okay, I'm seeing everybody. Just missing Kawan. Okay, perfect. Now I'm seeing you all. Wonderful. Welcome to the TGCC regional competition. Can I get a thumbs up from everybody that you're ready? Yes? Okay, perfect. I'm going to count you guys down now. 3, 2, 1. Good luck.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Nicholas, and our agenda is composed by Sebastian, who will present the executive summary. Kawan will cover our best market options. Giovanni will then cover our company's relationships, and then I'll be back to explain the risks and the financial statements of our project. Lastly, Sebastian will conclude the project. Say that, I'll hand you over to my colleague, Sebastian. Next slide, please.
The objective of our project is to maximize profit through technological innovation, restructuring our company and expanding into Brazil and India on a model based on partnerships and risk management. Next slide, please. Our first changes will be a complete overhaul of our human resources and the employment of our marketing team, paired with an expansion to Brazil in 2021, with a heavy focus on partnerships and an adaptation to local legislations. Then we'll repeat the same process in India in 2022, but with almost double the amount of investments to capture a higher market share. Lastly, a long-run plan includes expanding to other markets with a better production of drones, both quantity and quality. Next slide, please. To make our product, we made a thorough analysis on the drone market and reached some conclusions as follows. On the economic aspect, we noted that the current commercial drone market is about $9 billion in size, and it's expected to double by 2025. On the technological aspect, it should be noted that there is intensive research on drone applications, such as delivery services that use heavy AI technology. Lastly, on the political aspect, there is a trend worldwide to reduce drone regulations, making countries more drone friendly and thus facilitating our expansion worldwide. I will now explain the options for this expansion on the next slide. Thank you.
Thanks. Well, to be sure of considering many options, we created a model to calculate the attractability index of over 60 countries, or omega, which ranges from 0 to 1. Well, unfortunately, our model has limitations, so it just suggests a ranking of best options, resting to us the further analysis. It considers mainly for its own analysis, the demand, legislation, and the competition. Well, Russia isn't business friendly, and China would mean a harsh competition to ECSL. So let's narrow our analysis to our top 2 choices, Brazil and India. Next slide. Well, besides scoring first, by 2025, India will be in the world's podium of commercial drones market. But the interesting thing is that until 2 years ago, drones were illegal in India. So to achieve this position in such a small time, India has by far the world's fastest growing market. More precisely about location, the best place to install would be Mumbai, because it is India's richest city and also very well connected with other important regions. Well, the score, the fastest growth, and Mumbai are just some of the reasons to enter in the market. But curiously, our roadmap says that ACSL should enter Brazil first. Awkward, right? Let us figure out the reasons. Next slide. Well, besides scoring right after India, Brazil is part of Mercosur, which allows it to easily export to South America. And South America holds the world's greatest potential for agriculture drones, and is also sub-explored, so ACSL can take advantage. Other totally unique opportunity in Brazil is the government's budget of over $100 billion in sewage development. And this creates an opportunity to sell our air slider or new drone for pipeline inspection. Again, more precisely about location, São Paulo state and many cities in it would be a great fit because São Paulo has a great concentration of industries, a highly technological agriculture, and also good partnership opportunities. So the urgency of the budget of
in the budget for investment in development of sewage and the agriculture are our top two reasons to enter in Brazil first. But this is just the first part of the explanation. And I will handle the second part to Giovanni. Next slide.
So the strategy of our partnership will be similar in both countries with two features. So the first one is by firming a short contract, which enables us to use the plants of our partners. And then by hiring local workers, we will rapidly insert our drones in the market. We also hope to become actionists of our partners. So we will also have revenue from their success. And the second feature is that we will both benefit from our joint R&D. And for this to happen, we should have different and complementary technologies. So due to those features, our suggested partners to invest in Brazil are XMobiles and Speedbird, and in India, Quidditch and IdeaForge. So XMobiles has a big market share of more than 1 billion yen and focuses on agriculture and also has a very advanced technology for fixed-wing drones. Speedbird focuses on delivery, already being tested by iFood, which is a food delivery company that connects customers with restaurants, and it only carries a maximum of 2 kilograms, while our drone PF2 carries a maximum of 4 kilograms. Quidditch focuses on filming, and it's India's only broadcast services company to have covered more than 2,000 match days, and it has an interesting technology which we could incorporate. Also, last but not least, IdeaForge has 90% of the inspection sector in India, having drones with up to 2 hours of flight and also a large-scale production. So they would become partners with ACSL because we have an autonomous technology, drones turn to multiple things, and also an AP3 control technology. Next slide, please. So if we combine the main applications of those 5 competitors, they are mainly focused on inspection, agriculture, mapping, and surveying. However, we are also focused on delivery, disaster relief, and agriculture with XMobiles, and filming with Quidditch. And all those 5 competitors having their strategy, great investments in R&D, with Skydrones being a mid-scale production, TerraDrone and IoT software, DJI by having a large-scale production with customization and also a cost-efficient supply chain, with a market share of more than 70% globally. However, it was involved in a fraud in 2019 and need to pay importation duties. AUS doesn't manufacture drones. It's only focused on technology and improving drones, giving solutions for companies. And it's also the Indian leader in drone market. And in the tech technologies, the drone is able to discern the problem itself. So ACSL is able to differentiate by all those competitors by having an AP3 control technology using the cerebrum and cerebellum with AI, sensors, visual cameras, and also controlling the drone's flight. So now, in the next slide, my colleague will talk about risk mitigation.
The main risk is a lockdown extension, which is probable looking at nowadays situation on India and Brazil, and may lead to a deeper recession. But we can avoid it by postponing the entry in the Brazilian market and paying attention to the situation on India. A failure at the international expansion has a low probability as we rely on data on our estimation. However, causes a huge impact on sales, and that's by diversifying in more than one country and with different timing. Another risk is the low demand risk, but we can avoid that with innovation and customization of our product. Next slide, please. About the financials, we have an aggressive expansion strategy, investing 300 million in Brazil by 2021 and 500 million yen in India by 2022. With high initial costs and low volume of sales, we have a negative free cash flow in the beginning. Even with lower prices per sale, 5 million in Brazil, 4 million in India versus 8 million in Japan, we are estimated this by the mean similar drone price on Amazon's website. The percent demand for drones leads to more revenue. By 2023, more people are employed, leading to higher operational costs. It is important to state that directly related expansion costs are over by then. Indian and Brazilian wages are 17% lower than Japanese one. By 2025, with a revenue of 2 billion from Brazil and India of 5 billion of our total revenue, the future internal rate of return is 21%, and there aren't any subsidies from the government. The interest expense is huge from 2020 to 2022 due to acquisition partnerships. Sebastian will conclude the presentation in the next slide.
Well, with this, we conclude our presentations. If you have any doubts about our investment or partnership choices, we are now open to Q&A. Thank you.
Okay, we have a question from Carol.
Oh,
I think you're on mute, Carol.
Yeah.
Congratulations, great presentation, nice slides. My question is, what other strategies have you considered for entering those countries besides partnerships? And why did you go with partnerships?
Go ahead.
So I can handle these, I guess. Well, we considered also building our own plants and also exporting. But exportations are very risky because exporting would compete almost directly with DGI, and this is not smart. And also the import tariffs are very high, so export would not be a good strategy. We also considered building our own plants from the zero, but this would be very costly and would also be more risky. So between these three options, we choose doing a partnership and installing ourselves in the plants of our partners.
Yeah, thanks guys for the presentation. That was great. My question is related to the partners that you selected or that you identified and how they compare to the competitors actually. It wasn't clear for me which aspects of those companies differentiated themselves for you guys to select them as potential partners and the others as just identifying them as competitors.
Yeah, so in Brazil, ExMobiles, we chose it because it's already focused in agriculture and it's the leader in the American Latino market. So, and also it has a very advanced technology for fixed wing drones. And we don't have a technology for fixed wing drones. So that will combine the technology and also agriculture that we don't have for the moment. Speedbird, it's mostly because of the part of the delivery due to iFood that's already been tested. And also we can carry a maximum of 4 kilograms while Speedbird only carries a maximum of 2 kilograms. Quidditch is because it's very focused on filming and we don't have that aspect still. And they have also an interesting technology with advanced cameras and also idea forged by having a higher time of flight and also a high percentage of the inspection sector in India. So that's the conclusion.
Oh, excuse me, complementing and summarizing Giovanni's answer. We looked for how can we compete, how can we differentiate from our competitors, and from these we developed a strategy for choosing partners. So that part, the last line in that table of competitors, was our basis to decide our partners, and our main intention with them. Our main intention with them, despite the plans, we're doing joint research and development, and with this joint research and development is how we are going to tackle our competitors. Sorry.
Great. I think we have time for one more question from Kaio.
Yes, hello guys. Congratulations on the presentation. It's very good. I have a question regarding the financial projections that you've prepared. I think you've considered it very thoroughly, but I just have one question, like how is it possible that the EBITDA of the company is so close to the net income? Since like after EBITDA, you have depreciation, interest, taxes, and how did you come with that?
Who wants to take that?
I've handled this question to Nicholas.
I think I can handle. We made the EBITDA by making our net income and adding the depreciation and all these costs, but we don't have so much capital as we're using plants from other companies, and then we are going with a higher depreciation amortization, and we are and interest. We have a lot of cash, and in the interest expense, we are including the analysis, and that's why that doesn't have a difference between EBITDA and net income.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Nope, okay, time's up. All right, perfect timing once again. Thank you all so much for your presentation. We will now hear the presentation for group number 137, Eduarda, Sofia, Nicole, and Maria Lucia. Okay, so can you guys come in and turn on your videos, please? So you can start your presentation in 3, 2, 1, good luck.
Hello, my name is Sophia, and I'm the one who's going to start the case presentation and talk about what is precision agriculture and its growth. Also presenting the group, Maria Lucia is going to talk about the app we have developed, and Nicole, how precision agriculture will support the farmers, and Eduardo with the way it can be useful. Next slide, please. So the solution we came with is the precision agriculture market, which is the use of technology to solve and improve the management of the farm. In addition to this, it decreases the expenses of fertilizers and environmental impact at the same time as it assists them to control their cultivation. Therefore, the farmer is able to increase production and maximize the profit. Also, the cropper is a businessman and needs features to run better the business. Next slide, please. There are so many benefits, but we chose to talk about the main 3. The first one is the investment. The sector of agriculture is getting bigger each year. The predictions are by the end of 2021 will reach the mark of 4.2 billion euros, according to a study from Berg and Site. Therefore, the risks of going wrong reduces. Additionally, according to the AgroDealers research, the Japan-based SoftBank had allocated $200 million into agribusiness. The second one is the environmental impact, and it can affect in 2 different ways. First, the number of yearly wildfires has increased throughout the years, and the drones can monitor the climatic situation, avoiding greater damages. Secondly, the precision agriculture has the need for more control of the amount of fertilizers and pesticides since they spend money on it. And in 2017, the average was $8.8 million only in Brazil, according to the Manufacturers Association. For these reasons, every climate change can affect production capacity, and it can be avoided with ACSL drones. The third benefit shows what drives market growth. The fast development is driven due to the high demand for food. By 2050, will be necessary to increase food production at 70%, according to the Food and Agriculture Organization from UN. Still, there is a promising high technique improvement. Besides that, the farmer needs technology is real and the growth is inevitable. Now, Maria Lucia is going to talk about the app we have developed. Next slide, please.
Thank you. Your solution, in addition to address a promising sector such as precision agriculture, introduces dronage. The application tests connected to the drone and transmits in real time all data and information, making life easier for rural producers. It has several commands that will be discussed below, and the exclusive control technology that correspond to the brain and cerebellum of the drone is used. As a result, the drone is able to fly autonomous and achieve high performance, transmit all saved information through the application. Next slide, please. So your company is a strong competitor to its technology and their wide participation in the drone market. According to the Brazil Precision Agriculture Commission, precision agriculture is essential for producers to plant at the whole time and use inputs in the exact amount, which translates into increasing productivity and reduces losses. In the case of Brazil, it's estimated that it will take about 3 years ago to recover from the crisis caused by the pandemic, being the ideal time to invest in more technology and new products, although agriculture as one of the sectors less affected due to its global importance. Therefore, it is a promising market that was allowed to grow and contribute to the production food of large scale. Now, Nicole is going to talk about some negative factors and companies that already work in this area. Next slide, please.
First, I will start talking about the app, then I will explain the negative point of precision agriculture and talk a little about the companies. Okay, the app. In the image to the side, it shows that the drone in agriculture can photograph and film the crop and 1. Planting area, 2. Saving this data, and 3. Send in real time in the app. In addition, all data will be saved in the app. In one of the negative factors of precision agriculture is the high investment. But even so, the market has been growing a lot. Next slide, please. From the market survey, it can be seen that will grow by 80% and by 2025, and will also generate almost $13 billion in 5 years. Several companies already work in this sector, include 1. Avanti Agro, produce accuracy solutions with a focus on increasing profitability and costs. And finally, I would like to say the quote from Celso Albuquerque, coordinator of the Unizu Agronomy course that say, "There will come a time when drones will be essential for the agronomists as a boot." Now, Eduardo is going to talk about how it can be useful. Next slide, please.
So, my name is Eduardo, and today I will show you how the drones can be useful in collecting information about the crops. 1. Analyzing the vegetation health. 2. Warning if any pest attack is happening. 3. Creating planimetric survey and also digital terrain models. 4. Collecting the level curves and also the real estate georeferencing. 5. Measuring the production area. And the last but not least, 6. Studying the crop's pulverization by fertilizers and insecticides. Next slide, please. And why invest, especially in Brazil? Studies done by the AG Evolution discovered that Brazil is highlighted of one of the countries that will have the largest share of the precision agriculture. Therefore, it's the best option for them to focus their attention on. Next slide, please. In conclusion, the ACSL should invest in the Brazilian market because with their high-quality drones and the help of the DroneNet app, they will achieve a great global corporative expansion strategy. Thank you so much, and now we can go to the Q&A.
Yes, hello. First of all, congratulations on the presentation. It's nice to see an all-girl team presenting. My question is like, what's the competitive advantage that ACSL has in precision agriculture? And within this question is like, what's their current experience in the agriculture market?
Oh, so great question. The point where I think that is really important about the ACSL is that the drones are autonomy. They can be easily connected with the prototype that we have developed, and then the experience we already have shows that it can easily happen, and also will make the farmer's life way easier with more information, increasing the profit, and also making the technology part of their real life, and making easier the life experience with the agriculture. And at the same time, it reduces the expenses with fertilizers and insecticides, and the soil quality. Also the drone can monitor that. Thank you. I hope I have addressed your question.
Hello, great presentation. My question is, why did you guys decide to specialize in only one market segment? So my question is, did you look at the other players? Do they play only in one? Do they serve just one type of customer, for example, agriculture, or do they serve multiple different industries?
So the ACSL can easily serve multiple industries. This is well known when you look at the website. And also we chose the precision agriculture market since agriculture is a huge business. They make a lot of money every year, and they kind of are a huge part of the economy. So since ACSL wants to the globalization, they need a solid market that they know they will make money with it, and the risks are reduces with that. I know that precision agriculture is getting bigger each year. By 2021 will be 4.2 billion euros, and by 2050 will increase 50%. This is the average they are making. This is the predictions they are making, and so the risks are reduced, and ACSL will be able to establish that. I hope I have addressed the question.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation. My question is related to the model in which you would expand. So it was clear that you identified the market and the specific industry that you would focus on. My question is related to how would you plan to enter the Brazilian market?
So the farmers need, great question first. So the farmers need this is a real need. And we know that Japan products and the way they produce that, the money they spend on it is less than Brazil. And the competitors have a high price, which is exaggerated. And they can also have a good marketing strategy, and also with more okay, so they can, I'm nervous, I'm sorry.
Take your time, take your time.
Okay, so the way they can get into the Brazil's market is the way the options they have offer. This is an easy offer, easily to work, and also the ACSL can offer videos in the beginning of the app, easily features, and also since the ACSL wants to make it global, they probably will have a company here in Brazil, and this company can offer more beyond the competitors offer. They'll be the companies we have already looked into. They just offer one thing. It's just for soil analysis, or just for the measurement of the area, and the prototype it came with, it's just all combined, all together. You can do whatever you want there, measure, check the pulverization, check if the soil is everything okay with that.
Sophia, I have to cut you off because our time is up.
Okay,
but thank you so much. Thank you to your whole team for the
I'm
presentation.
sorry.
That's okay, don't apologize. Thank you for responding to the questions. Just to let you all know, we will see you again here at this same Zoom link at 12:50 p.m. Brasilia time, okay? And which is when we will announce the winners, okay? So we ask you all to please leave the Zoom call now, and we'll see you in a little while. Thank you. Get started with team 250, where we have Vitor, Isabella, and Isabelli. I'm going to count you down, and let's get started. 3, 2, 1, good luck.
Morning, everyone. My name is Vitor Moraes, and today, together with my partners, Isabelle Pardo, Isabelle Moraes, and Isabella Greco, yes, you've heard right, that's 3 Isas, we'll talk about a proposal that we envisage of how Japanese enterprise ACSL should expand its drone market.
Well, to make sure we have an idea that a sense of what ACSLs need, we asked ourselves, what is the issue? Well, the company currently operates in several countries, but they want to build bigger influence around the world. That's why we have to come up with a global expansion. But you might think, why is it important to expand an enterprise? So this issue impacts a lot in the company. There are obvious reasons such as increased revenues and sales, but it's also really important for a company not to depend in a single few group of countries. Let's imagine, what if, for example, there's a gigantic crisis in Singapore where ACSL operates? What will they do? That's why I've come up with a revolutionary place for ACSL to expand to. Next slide, please.
We wanted a very innovative market, but which one? So we looked for one that ACSL would be able to invest in and stand out. In this research, we saw that they will release a new drone in 2020 with a collaboration of NJS. It is called Air Slider, to clean sludge pipes so it can go into water. Thinking about this, we thought about having this water drone with just a few changes to assist the monitoring of cargo movements, operational safety, and navigation itself. Wouldn't this be awesome? In this idea, drones would be very useful in many countries like Brazil and Mexico that have 96% of their exportations through the port. In addition, the use of drones in this area would be estimated about $11 billion in 2 years, showing that it is going to excel the future of ports and drones in less than 4 countries. So we have to invest in this before other companies see how attractive it is. And this idea from 2022 to 2027, these drones investments will grow at an annual fee of 21%, reaching almost $30 billion in 2027. But hey, when the enterprises see how worth it this business is, ACSL would be already into it. Next slide, please.
But why are Brazil and Mexico the perfect option? Firstly, based on a World Bank group, they have the 2 biggest economies in the Latin America, in a way that influence will contribute to ACSL future expansion through the continent. Secondly, they have an abundance of technopoles and qualified workforce. Thirdly, they permit drone use, something that a lot of countries doesn't have yet. Fourthly, it has low-cost labor in comparison to Japan. In addition, Brazil holds the second biggest Nikkei community, as the first is in Japan itself, and the largest drone market in Latin America, according to UAV Market. Mexico, on the other hand, has recently made several economic changes, such as the drop in taxes to open their door for investments. And the most important thing, we have party. Well, as noticed, they're a revolutionary market that will boost ACSL profits.
So we also did some research to see why we should not pursue the European and Asian market. In there, enterprises such as DJI are well established in the market, thus making an accession in the market way harder compared to a non-consolidated market, such as Brazil and Mexico. And on top of that, the drone technology is already used in a wide variety of relevant ports, such as the Port of Rotterdam, Port of Singapore, and the Port of Hong Kong. Also, it is necessary to say a little bit about India. Besides its constant change in legislation, it is doubtlessly a good option to invest in, but our market is way superior to this one, as stated previously by Griego. Next slide, please.
After defining where our drones would be used, we have to make sure it will be profitable according to our initial investment. So we estimated that the initial revenue is through this equation here below in the slides. To do this calculation, first we saw how would be the penetration rate, which means how many ports are going to use our drones. So to do that, we researched the ports in Brazil and Mexico that has a volume cargo of over 1,000 TEU. So they would be big and busy enough to have drones. After we multiply this number by the 15 drones that on average each port will have. And now you might ask me, okay, but why 15? So we got in mind Port of Santos. It has 55 docks. And so we estimated that each drone would be able to have 2 docks, giving us 28 drones for Port of Santos. But yes, we know that this port is gigantic in Latin America. So we estimate that the other ports will, on average, have half of what Port of Santos has, so 15. Finally, we get this number and multiply by the average price of a median ACSL drone we saw on their website, giving us this big revenue for 3 years. And yeah, it's 3 years because we know we won't be able in the first year to get to all 57 ports. So it's going to be in this period of establishment. Next slide, please.
So why partners? Well, this type of relationship, it is the easiest, safest, and most efficient for ACSL. In the case of Flexitronics, would be ACSL's largest partnership, being a technology producing company located in the Manaus Free Trade Zone. In the case of Apiman, it is a company that controls the largest port of Mexico. While Sky Drones, it is a Brazilian company that produces drones that performs an exchange of technologies with companies in the same industry in several countries. Next slide, please. Now, talking more specifically about Flexitronics, they are going to be the biggest partner of ACSL. In the first place, there will be a contracting services in which ACSL's technology will be deployed through training the Brazilian team, Brazilian company's team. Furthermore, there will be no association of Flexitronics with the drone. In addition, for better monitoring of services in Latin countries, Headquarters of small to medium size will be installed in the commercial centers of the country. São Paulo, in the case of Brazil, and Mexico City for Mexico. Next slide.
Taking into the consideration that Latin ports will have a good revenue and partnerships to collaborate with, have to test if ACSL will be successful facing threats and will present several opportunities in the best way possible. So we organize the company strategy in a SWOT analysis showing the slides. We realize there are many for the company to succeed with, some aspects that few companies have. For example, a high customization and a close relationship with the customers. Next slide, please.
Well, another thing we took into consideration to see if ACSL will be able to stand out and have a lot of influence in this new market, we saw its potential competition. So here in the slides, we have 3 of our main competitors that we believe will be able to stand out too. First of all, we have here 3D Robotics, that is a company in Mexico. Secondly, DJI, the world's leader in the drone market. And thirdly, Nuven UAV in Brazil. Even though they have stores here in Brazil and in Mexico, they are really sparse and undeveloped yet. And also, they don't have the high level of customization we at ACSL have. So in ports, they won't be able to sell good drones good enough as ACSL. So we will be able to stand out, face this competition, and we'll be able to have a big influence in the market. Next slide, please.
We did a risk analysis and found about 6 possible risks that can impact our enterprise. The most likely to happen and more risky are the first, which would be a low adherence by possible replacement, and the 6 ones, where companies wouldn't want to collaborate with us. To solve this first problem, we have to further develop the product. As for the other one, it would be ideal to offer more money to the partners or even look for other companies. Next slide, please.
Talking a little bit more about the timeline itself, we distributed our plan of work into 2 big groups, establishment and increased revenue. In the 3 first years, we will hire people, make partnerships, and guarantee that our name is consolidated in the market as a great player via marketing made in these countries. After these 3 first years, we'll have a greater return that we all expected. And we will also invest in other kinds of markets to go even further with our company. Thank you so much for your time. This was our presentation.
Hello, everyone. First of all, thank you for the presentation. It was very interesting. It's a very fresh approach to ACSL, and I really like your mood in the presentation. My question is regarding the application you're considering, ships and logistics. Which is the application you were considering on the projections you had regarding the number of parts? Is mostly cargo or who? Because cargo, we know that especially ships, they have like very large volumes, and there's a limitation on the weight that the drones can carry. That's just 4 kilograms. So that's why mostly they use like very heavy machinery to deal with logistics imports. So I would just like to have like some idea on what you were considering.
I can answer your question. So as we said in the presentation, we are not going to have the drones only for car use. So for monitoring, for example, here in Port of Santos and even Mexico, there are a lot of problems with drug traffic. So it is going to facilitate security, for example, in monitoring these areas, as we said in Isa's slide, and also in the cargo is going to be able to see in the warehouses, just like we saw that ACSL does in their.
I think we've lost her. Does anyone want to compliment?
Industry, so to see transportation.
Isabella, you froze. Do you want to just take it from the middle?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I don't know where I stopped. So it's going to be
security.
Okay, so we have the security used for drug traffic. There's a big problem in the sports. We also have to monitor the cargo in the warehouses, just like they do for industries in the places they already act. And not only cargo, so it's going to be very useful for ports.
Yeah, thanks everybody for your presentation. My question is specifically around the partnership that you have identified in Brazil. It is specifically a manufacturing partnership, as I understood correctly. I would like to, know more about it, since in the case it is pretty clear that the company already has a lot of, capacity to expand its manufacturing capabilities. So, wondering why you chose that specific partner in Brazil.
Well, I can answer that. That's an awesome question. Well, we thought about having just a partnership because this company, and exactly like Flexitronic, they do this kind of services with many companies. So we could like just in the first place go and have their services, and in the future probably we would build a company in here in Brazil or in Mexico to build the drones by ACSL.
Thank you for the presentation. Great structure, guys. My question is it a lot of trouble to enter a new country? You have a great plan here over time. You did a great market analysis. What's the size of this opportunity versus our revenue today? Have you looked at it?
I was the one who did the market size, so I can answer your question. It was a pretty good one. We saw about that. So nowadays, ACSL has 300 drones per year, and monthly they build 50 drones. So in the first year, for example, we want to expand to the 5 biggest ports in Mexico and 5 in Brazil. So it's going to be 150 drones, 50% more than they already do currently. That's why Flexitronics just like is a set is so important, because we use the hours that they don't work with. So they have the work hours, they're going to using this counter hours to build more drones, and going to increase drastically in the first year, just 50% more of what they have today.
Thank you.
All right, perfect. Well, thank you all so much for your presentation, for your energy. We will see you all back here at 12:50 p.m. Brasilia time, so same as São Paulo time, which is when we will announce the winners. So I'll ask you all to exit the Zoom chat, or the Zoom room, please, and we'll see you in a little bit. And we have team number 356, Vitor Alexandre, Leonardo, Miguel, and João Gabriel. Just let you guys come in and turn on your video. So 3, 2, 1, good luck.
Good morning, judges. My name is João Gabriel, and today we're going to show you the strategy we developed for ACSL's internationalization. Firstly, Vitor will take you through the executive summary and an analysis of the industry. Then Miguel will address the company situation and our first recommendation, so Leonardo and I can present to you our second recommendation. Let's begin the next slide.
The strategy will provide ACSL with a lot of growth and profit because it will enter the most promising drone markets in the world, which our research shows are India, Malaysia, and Australia. These markets resonate well with the company's current operations, and they have relatively low barriers to entry. We also recommend that ACSL invests in internal resources so that it can operate at a global scale. In the next slide, I'll begin by providing you with an analysis of the drone market. And I'll start with in the next slide, yes, with an analysis of the 5 forces that shape competition. So starting with internal competition, it's very high because there are many companies providing similar products and services, and there's little room for differentiation. Customer bargaining power is also very high, which means we can't raise our prices to increase our profits. Threats of new entry and supplier power are also, they're moderate because all the companies need drone technology to operate. They can switch manufacturers without much difficulty. And threat of substitutes is low because drones are in themselves a pretty unique solution So there are many substitutes. The drone market right now is flourishing and it is expected to grow a lot in the near future. And ACSL holds a great position in it to expand. But the question is, should it expand? So in the next slide, I'll answer this question with the help of a SWOT analysis. The SWOT analysis tells us that yes, ACSL should seek an expansion because the strengths greatly outweigh the weaknesses and the opportunities greatly outweigh the threats. The main strength for ACSL is that it already has a solid position in Japan and it has expertise in infrastructure related drones, while its main weakness is that not all employees are capable to communicate in English with peers around the globe or operate at a global scale. The main opportunity is that the global market is flourishing and neighboring countries don't have strong local players, while the main threat is that concerns about drone security could push for stricter drone regulations, which could hinder growth. So in the next slide, Miguel will walk you through the opportunity costs of not expanding.
So, continuing the issue review, we picked 3 main topics to talk about why and how ACSL must invest in its expansion. So, first of all, thanks to the geopolitical context and the changes by COVID-19 and the pandemics, we are convinced that now is the right time to ACSL invest in its expansion. So for this reason, ACSL must invest in internal resources such as workshops or the formation of a focus expansion group because we noticed some weakness at this point in our analysis. Then ACSL must seek for the right partnerships and networking because it would be very helpful and valuable to the process of expanding. In the next slide, I will talk about our first recommendation and how to do this in practice. So we developed 4 main policies that ACSL must implement in its company, and the first one is the creation of a global research team that will search and provide the right information to the global drone markets to ACSL so the company can make better and well-informed decisions. The second one is the creation of a regulations team that will analyze how the regulations in each country could impact the company and its growth. The third one is the implementation of employees training that will enable them to communicate and connect with co-workers or possible customers. And finally, the last one is that ACSL must define a global marketing strategy because ACSL is a startup and it is not well known in each country yet. So now is the right time to structure how the company wants to grow and spread its brand around the world. So in the next slide, João Gabriel will talk about why we chose India, Malaysia, and Australia to our expansion plan.
For the second recommendation, looking to the map, it becomes clear that Asia Pacific is the most promising region. And after excluding many countries from there, such as Thailand, Myanmar, and South Korea, we narrowed our options to 3 that will provide the best conditions for ACSL's expansion. The main reasons for those to be chosen are because our company's strengths matches with their necessities, such as the infrastructure sector that you can see on the slide, and all 3 of them provide conditions for an early establishment. Malaysia and Australia due to the fact that they control the COVID-19 outbreak superbly, and India thanks to its probable less competitive market caused by its recent frictions with the Chinese, that we can see better in the next slide. As we can see here, the updates of the no permission, no takeoff protocol makes Chinese UAV unable to fly on Indian territory. That excludes some of the fiercest players on the market and leaves space for a startup like ACSL to establish themselves. This is associated with the fact that India is predicted to be one of the greatest global drone markets in the future, makes this opportunity to enter the Indian market one not to be missed. Now on the next slide, Leonardo with the other 2 countries.
So another market that ACSL should invest in is in Malaysia,
That's for three main reasons. One, existing partnerships, two, market growth, and three, market share. The association with Livanas and NGS facilitates entering the Malaysian market, the latter being an opportunity to engage in two big projects, one involving a reform of the country's sewage treatment system, and the other related to a flood mitigation program. Secondly, we've seen an increasing expenditure on infrastructure-related projects, which calls for technology innovation. And finally, as there is not too much competition, ACSL should become a strong player in the Malaysian drone market after establishing its identity. So in the next slide, I will show you the third and final market to explore, and that's Australia. So first of all, we should ask ourselves, why to expand into Australia? So entering the the Australian market is a very good idea, and for one big reason, and that being the increasing investments in infrastructure. And in the presented graph, we can see a spike in investments in 2020 and a still high budget in the following 2 years. And that matches perfectly with ACSL's specialty in infrastructure related projects. So in the next slide, I'll show you the whole implementation in practice. So eventually, expanding to the global market has its risks. Market penetration may be smaller than forecasted, for example, or costs of expanding too high, or even changes in the regulation of foreign UAVs may affect the company's plan. However, if ACSL builds a thorough planning and endorses the right strategies, they should be confident of their success. So in a nutshell, we recommend a three-step procedure. First, ACSL should connect with partners and build up its office. Second, they should hire the right people and train their employees. And third, they should focus on marketing and advertising the brand. So in the next slide, Miguel will end our presentation.
So in conclusion, ACSL must invest in human capital and expanding to India, Malaysia, and Australia. Thank you so much for your attention and time, and we'll be very happy to answer your questions.
Thank you for the presentation, guys. Very good stuff. My question is, I understand that you guys want to enter India, Australia, and Malaysia, and there's not an order to enter. So considering that the leadership team on our company will not be able to do the three countries at the same time, probably, which one would you go first?
That's a very good question. I think I can get this one. So due to the fact that the Indian market now, it's on a, the less competition is due to a geopolitical fact. We think that it should be an immediate implementation, so we can take advantage of the moment. So if we could enter only one country, it should be India.
Thanks for the presentation, everybody. My question is related to the first recommendation. I understand that investing in a global R&D team and investing in a regulations team and so on, that takes time to do so. So I would like to hear from you some alternatives that you all have perhaps considered to the recommendation if we plan to do that expansion more quickly.
Okay, thanks for the question. I think the main alternative is operating similarly to what ACSL has been doing with Singapore, which is operating in its Japanese branch and not fully establishing in the country while it doesn't have the necessary structure to do so. And then when it has had this time to develop the R&D team and study the necessary regulations, then ACSL can dive into the market and be confident of how it will work. Did I answer your question?
Can I have a follow-up?
Yeah.
Cool. So given that the company has already been doing that strategy with Singapore and the US, why do you think that the best strategy right now is to build those teams and have a full local presence in those markets?
So the expansion into US and Singapore, we feel it's really an early expansion. So in order for ACSL really enter the global market and not have the risks of having to draw back on their decision, these teams need to be established, and ACSL really needs to invest to make sure that the risks won't be greater than the results, and ACSL won't maybe have to retract from those markets or slow down its operations and hinder profit. Did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Right, last question from Kyle.
Yes, I would like to know, like, what kind of enter you would have in India? Did you map any potential partners that you could partner with, or which kind of application you were thinking for the Indian market, specifically considering SSL drones?
Okay, I can get this one. Thank you for your question. As we saw on the slide, mainly on the Malaysian slide, ACSL is now developing a new product, the Air Slider with NGS. And NGS has operations in various countries in the Asia Pacific region, and one of them is India. So this is the main partnership we expect to take advantage. And another great point of the Indian market is that their greatest expenditures are on the infrastructure sector. So we believe that there would be many places where our technology could be used in there. Did I answer their question?
Yeah, yes, thank you.
Group ID number 483 coming into the call. That's Gustavo, João Pedro, and Johnny. Thank you guys for being with us. I think we're just missing João to turn on his video. 3, 2, 1, you may go. Good luck.
Good morning, everyone, or should I say almost afternoon. I hope so you're not too hungry yet. I am Johnny, and I'm here today with João and Gustavo to present to you the best market strategies regarding ACSL's global expansion. Next slide, please. So right up front, after we did the PESTEL analysis for several regions, we've concluded that Brazil is the best country for ACSL to expand into. Latin America is by far not the region with the highest values in terms of gross revenue, market size, or volume, but it is the one that is expected to grow the most since it barely has any competition, as can be seen by the graph on the right of the slide, which shows that it doesn't have neither a consolidated market dominated by major players, nor a fragmented one with a lot of competition. Furthermore, the graph on the left shows that Brazil has the largest percentage revenue share of Latin America's unmanned aerial vehicle market, which is also another reason why we chose the country. In this presentation, we're going to demonstrate the potential areas for growth and the market strategies that shall be adopted. With that in mind, I now pass the word to João, who will explain these areas and the diplomatic relations between Brazil and Japan.
Thank you, Johnny. Next slide, please. We can see that Brazil-Japan's relations are exceptional, both culturally and economically. On the cultural aspect, Brazil is the country with the highest number of Japanese people living outside of Japan, and Brazilians are very accepting and welcoming to them. Economically, they're agreeing on a free trade agreement, and we cannot fail to acknowledge that the imports, exports, and investments between them are extensive, with Japan exporting billions of dollars worth of technology to them. This is very important because, as ACSL CFO Kensuke explained, establishing good relations with the country they're going to expand into while maintaining strong domestic connection is important. Hence, these cultural, economic, and diplomatic relations greatly reduce these risks. On the next slides, I will demonstrate the main areas which ACSL can develop its market in Brazil, starting with the industry sector. First, we have the mining industry, which is the most technologically advanced in the world, and Brazil is one of the major producers and exporters of several minerals. Second, the automotive industry is trying to reduce costs and improve efficiency more than ever due to the COVID-19 crisis, so drones have been used more and more in this aspect. At last, but certainly not least, the oil and gas industry, which has several industrial plants and more than 14,000 kilometers of pipeline networks, require frequent drone inspection. Next slide, please. The infrastructure sector is another of great interest and potentials. Brazil has more than 66,000 kilometers of paved highways, with new contracts being signed in this second semester of 2020 and the entire 2021 year. Moreover, they have recently approved regulatory framework for water and sanitation. The expected investment for this area is more than 132 billion US dollars, and a CSL new and still unreleased drone can provide an exclusive product in this segment. Next slide, please. And also, when talking about Brazil, we cannot fail to mention agribusiness. Agribusiness represents 20% of the Brazilian GDP, but also 40% of drones in Brazil are used in this segment. Brazil is the biggest exporter of orange juice, soybeans, coffee, and sugar. One important factor to take into account is that more than half is that technology in this field, has been improving a lot in recent years. And an interesting fact is that more than half of the production of soybeans is done in the Cerrado, a very dry biome similar to a savanna. And this is only possible due to the large technological investment in the region, including drones. However, ACSL does not have a great focus in this area. Hence, investing in it or creating a joint venture with a Brazilian company is beneficial. Gustavo will further explain the strategy later on. Next slide, please. The environmental sector is another area in which ACSL can surely develop its market. Intrinsically tied with infrastructure and industry, Brazil has more than 24,000 dams, including hydroelectric plants. This is a huge area in which they can invest since inspection of these structures is now mandatory. Moreover, due to the Mariana and Brumadinho disasters, which happened mainly because of ruptured dams, leading to two of the biggest environmental disasters that ever happened in the country, drone inspections grew exponentially. Additionally, the protection, wildfire prevention, and deforestation analysis of forests is another area in which ACSL's technology can be proved helpful, seeing that Brazil is known worldwide for them. Now I'm going to pass my word to Gustavo. He will further explain our joint venture strategy.
Thank you very much, João. Now on the next slide, we have identified some weaknesses in ACSL for the Brazilian market by performing a SWOT analysis. In order to reduce these weaknesses, we analyze the current players and define that the best strategy to enter this market is with a joint venture, aiming to strengthen these deficiencies. The best company for it, as you can see, is the Brazilian Santos Lab, in which both companies would benefit each other mutually and support each other's weaknesses, representing the best win-win scenario as compared to other players in the market. They also have very similar enterprise cultures, and with all these points, the potential to dominate the Brazilian drone market is very large. Now on the next slide, we can analyze those strengths and weaknesses. The first weakness is a poor advertisement for ACSL, which could be reinforced by a joint venture with Santos Lab, which has a strong advertisement on the other hand. And as answered by Kensuke, the ACSL CFO earlier this month in a Q&A session, their advertisement depends on the demonstration or the proof of concept to sell their product, their drones. And as analyzed by us in a past analysis and various other reports, the companies which try to expand to Brazil have several difficulties in trying to implement their technology, mainly because of cultural stigmas. However, with a strong demonstrative advertisement focusing on presenting how these technologies can help reduce costs and improve efficiency, the company would easily be able to sell their product, in this case, the drones. So this is an important issue that needs to be managed very carefully in this process. Further on, ACSL has field technologies for agriculture, a very important segment in Brazil's industry, and the one that Santos Lab focused the most on. However, Santos Lab doesn't have many technologies for other areas though, which ACSL has a lot of. Also, another important point is that the technology used and developed by ACSL is quite advanced, which at Santos Lab, it ain't that much, but a good thing is that they already have partnerships with different universities and are currently developing more advanced technologies. So as you can see, they complement each other's flaws, and that's why a joint venture would be beneficial for both of them. Now I'll pass the floor back to Johnny so that he can explain more about the strategy, the timeline, and also the financial plan. Johnny.
Thanks a lot, Gustavo. So in conclusion, taking all the information presented both by Gustavo and João, our recommended strategy is that by November 2020, ACSL start a joint venture with Santos Lab, and then by early 2021, initiate an advertisement campaign of its own, and also invest in R&D to focus the drone technology into the agricultural, environmental, infrastructural, and industrial sectors, as João explained earlier. Finally, by the beginning of 2022, increase its production capability to keep up with the projected increase in demand caused by the advertisement and the joint venture itself. Next slide, please. So here you can see a table and some graphs we've created to model the projected market growth and the company's sales and incomes. First and foremost, as can be seen on the first row in the table, net sales increased dramatically with a year-on-year increase of 13.7% in 2021 and 30.8% in 2022. Secondly, the ratio to sale of SG&A expenses reduced from over 60% in 2020 to less than 50% in 2022. And this is mainly due to the joint venture, because ACSL won't have to worry as much with selling and administrative expenses, because this part will be managed mostly by Santos Lab, which is already here in Brazil. And finally, this increase in sales and reduction in expenses leads to a huge increase in income, which can be seen on the graph to the right of the table in blue. So the data we've used to model this projection for the future in the table was gathered from the graphs that can be seen on the bottom of the slide. And these graphs, they model the projected market growth and the company's net sales for the first 5 years. And the first graph models for the environmental industry, and the second one is in the industrial sector, namely for the dams and the petroleum industry. However, it's also important to note that the data doesn't take into account all the sectors we've presented here, nor all the possible applications of this ingenious technology. So, and this all reinforces the idea that Brazil has a market that has a high potential for growth. And so that's it. Thanks very much, everyone. Does anyone have any questions?
Perfect timing, guys. Let's see, who's our first question from our judges? We have a question from Carolina.
Thank you for the presentation, guys. Very good. So which other countries did you guys consider, and why Brazil?
Okay, that's a really nice question, Carolina. Actually, on our appendix, if you come back, we did a past analysis for every region. And there are several factors that pointed us to Brazil, mainly because of the low competition in Brazil, the great regulation or the lack of regulation barriers for law or regulations by the civil aerial agency that is responsible for that. And also by all the historical and the recent occurrences such as the Brumadinho and Mariana disaster, the drone industry has improved a lot. And actually, as we speak, we didn't have time to put that in the slides, but they are testing drones for delivery purposes. So yeah, that's actually really nice. And this proves that Brazil has a lot of potential. And when compared to other regions, there are just too much competition or companies that are too strong in that market, or a lack of regulation.
Yeah. So a follow-up then, if you enter Brazil successfully, what's the next region then?
That's a really nice question too.
Can I get answer the one? Okay. So actually, I did the PESO analysis for Asia. Well, we divided the task. So I think that Asia would be a really great market for ACSL to expand into, because they have the, if I'm not mistaken, it's the first highest improvement in gross revenue for the drone market. So that's also a bonus. And they already have some partnerships, mainly in China and India. And these countries, for mainly India, is expanding and investing in trying to achieve the first place in technological advancements. So I think they would have a huge governmental aid in that sector as well.
Yes.
I think Asia would be the next region.
Thank you.
All right, I think our next question was from Kleber.
Thanks, guys. I actually feel kind of underdressed near you. So I appreciate the effort there. My question is, related to so the financials. I saw that you highlighted the oil and gas and infrastructure industries. I assume that you think those are the main ones or most important ones, or the ones that provide a big impact in your financial projections, right?
Yeah.
So I wonder, how does that relate to the partner that you guys have selected, given that its specialty is in the agribusiness?
You can answer that.
Okay, I was so Kleber, that's a very good question. But actually, the main factor that we took into account for choosing the dams and the petroleum industry was that the data that we accessed for them was more readily accessible, because for other regions like mining or the automotive industry, the data was not that easy to access. And this the data that we specifically wanted for the dams and the petroleum industry was easier to get and also more easy to work with, because we can manage like the rate of expansion and also how many platforms or dams the ACSL can reach per year. So I think that was the main point that we took into account.
Follow up on that, in the drone market, we perceive that information is power. And so when we were trying to search for it, we found out that there are articles, but they cost like $5,000 or so. And yeah, so yeah, really expensive. However, we could find information of whether they could be applied or could present a benefit for the agricultural side. So we found that, for example, in the sugarcane industry, drones can decrease costs of $60 per acre. So yeah, this summing up all acres of sugarcane crops, this could present a real viable option for producers. However, creating a graph out of the profit that ACSL could create by that was just not possible.
Okay, 30 seconds left. Caio, do you have a quick question?
Yeah, I just have like a quick question. Considering there's like public information that was not available on the brochure, but was available on the internet, that their target of sales for 2022, it's of 5.5 billion. Like your projections seem a little bit shy. How could we, like, what would be the most beneficial market if there was just one option to increase sales in Brazil?
I'd say agriculture.
Culture, yes. It represents almost 40% of the drone market in Brazil, the agriculture. So it is a very market that has very like.
All right.
Has
Sorry to cut you guys off. Time's up. Thank you
okay.
so much. That was a great round. Lots of good questions. So I will ask you all to please exit the Zoom, and we will see you back here at 12:50 p.m. Brasilia time, which is when we'll begin the process of announcing the winners. Thank you so much for your energy. We'll see you in a little while. ID number 485, that's Alexandre, Henrique, and Bruna. So I'll ask you all to please turn on your videos. 3, 2, 1, you may get started. Good luck.
Good afternoon. My name is Alexandre, and these are my two partners, Bruna and Henrique, and it is absolutely a pleasure to be here delivering our pitch to you. On this presentation, we're going to talk about some of our strategies to help ACSL expand its operations overseas. Also, we're going to go through some of the targeted market, critical risks, potential partnerships, and some of the legislation. So next slide, please. As you can see, our key recommendation for the company is to expand itself to the Indian drone market. Sorry, there are three main reasons for that. First, it is the fastest growing drone market in the world, with 18% of annual growth. Second, it is expected to become the third largest drone market in the world by 2025, with 4 major segments: agriculture, disaster reconnaissance, construction, and oil and utilities. And third, it has huge barriers to entry to some of the biggest drone companies in the world. So next slide, please.
The reason why some Chinese companies like UNEC and DJI, that's the largest global commercial drone market company in the world, can't operate in India are the political tensions between both countries. But however, there are some other companies acting in the Indian drone market, like Paro and Delair, both French companies, and some Indian startups like US and Indron Solutions, but mainly the Idea Ford, that's an Indian startup, focused on the military segment. But today, there is no hegemony in the commercial drone market. Next slide, please.
However, uh, anyway, what makes ACSL different from other companies is that it creates a relationship with its clients, mostly through the acquisition process, which is designed with 4 steps. The first one being the proof of concept, in which the drones are tested in the client's facilities. The second and third steps are the customization and small-scale implementation, which is ACSL's strongest point. And the fourth one, after being proved functional, the mass production happens along with the maintenance support. Apart from that, the company's services and products are of high quality, as a huge amount of money is invested in that. Next slide, please. Now, we've come up with some strategies for ACSL. Firstly, focusing on inspection, which has many areas of application, and disaster reconnaissance because of the monsoon. Second, partnerships. They help complete the trustworthiness and quality in customization. Also, later on, it would be a great idea to associate with the state as the country grows along with the government's investments. And then Japanese companies, it would be a great idea to associate with them, as ACSL is also Japanese, then it will be easier to build a connection with them. Also, multinational companies can help make India just the start line for the company's globalization. Next slide, please.
For instance, a multinational company is the Suez Environment, that is a French water management company that acts all over the world, in all continents, and today is the leader in water sewage management in India. And ACSL connecting the pipeline maintenance with their new drone, their slider. And in the future, they can use this partnership to expand their operations to other places around the world, like the European market. Another company is the Maruti Suzuki, a subsidiary of Suzuki, that's a Japanese company in partnership with the Indian government, that acts in car manufacturing, that in 2018 had more than 50% of the passenger car market in India. Today, they operate 2 car manufacturing facilities in India that build up to 1.2 million cars a year, and they sell connecting the inspection area with this company. Next slide, please. ACSL can also make a partnership with the Indian government to operate in many areas, especially the infrastructure sector, that will receive more than $1 trillion investment to 2025. And ACSL could act with inspections during and after those projects are done. They can also operate with disaster relief, mainly caused by the monsoons that affected more than 17 million people this year and caused landslides and floods all over the country. To help create partnerships with private and governmental companies, the Indian government created the Invest in India program, seeking to attract international company investors to help in the sustainable development of the country. Next slide, please.
So at the moment, the world is going through some quick changes, which are accelerating some tendencies. Also, we are in a scenario marked by the low interest rates around the world. Therefore, to take advantage of these 2 factors, we highly suggest that the company starts all the legislative process this year, 2020, so that by 2021, it can start operating normally. We also expect the company to start working with the government in 2023, so that in 2024, it becomes profitable. Next slide, please.
However, some risks should be considered. The first one being the Indian legislation, which is not a problem currently, just something that might delay the process. Then we have the political tensions, which might become an issue, but it is not at the moment. Also, the exchange variation and the pandemic, which caused the global recession and consequently may entail in cuts in government investments. Next slide, please. Taking a closer look at two major risks, we have the Indian legislation, which is highly bureaucratic. Still, there are two major approvals that need to be obtained, the UIN and the UAOP. And you can get both of them from the Directorate General of Civil Aviation. What's more, the drones have to be registered into this platform called Digital Sky. Moreover, the pandemic results in an economy slowdown, and the employees and workers have been having the limitation of working from home. So that delayed the production. Next slide, please.
Finally, before we go open up for question and answers, let's talk about some of the financial projections. As you can see, we expect the company to have in 2021 about $600,000 of revenue. That would grow to $4.5 million of revenue in 2025. This would represent an annual growth of 67%. However, we also expect the company to have 3 years of operating losses that would be followed by 2 years of operating profits. So as to raise capital to do all these investments and to fund the operations of the company has two options. Either make a follow-on offering, since the company is already listed in the Japanese stock market, or take into long-term debt, taking advantage of the low interest rates worldwide, especially in Japan. Next slide, please. We now end the presentation here, and we can open up for all questions and answers. Thank you.
Fantastic. So let's see what our first question is from our judges. We have a question from Kleber.
Thanks everybody for your presentation. My question is related to perhaps the last topic that you guys touched on, which is the financials and the cash needed for expansion. So my main question is, what would you use that additional cash for? It wasn't clear for me exactly not only why you need additional cash, but then how much?
Okay, that's a fantastic question. I have made some projections for the cost of this operation, and I don't have the exact number, but the money would be used to fund some trips to make presentations and meetings with with the government and other enterprises. It would also be used to all logistic and the transportation of all the materials needed to the operation of the company, and also to rent an office in India. This would be, oh, sorry, I forgot something. We also expect costs with lawyers because of the bureaucracy, and also some consultory with some of the experts in the area. So that's the major costs.
Next question. From Carolina.
Can you explain a little bit more in detail the assumptions you guys use to project this revenue in India? I see that you included a 18% CAGR. What's the assumptions behind, and what's the best case and worst case for this number?
That's a perfect question. All this data was based on a report by Ernst Young that predicted the CAGR, okay? And do you want to know about the revenue of the company or just about the Indian drone market?
The revenue for the company.
Okay. Well, what did I do to get to the revenue? I picked up the revenue for all the drone markets, established the revenue for the commercial drone market. That's about 33% of the total, okay? And then we estimated the growth of the market share of the company. It would grow from 0.3% to about 1% in 2025. Uh, did I make it clear, or do you want me to expand it?
It's clear, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, no, I would like to congratulations on the presentation. The question that I would like to ask you is like, did you assess other markets apart from India, and which markets were assessed?
Okay, that's also a fantastic question, and I think Bruno would like to answer that.
Sorry, did you pass it to me?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Could you please repeat the question?
Yes, the question was, which other countries or regions did you assess in order to come up with India?
Well, we've thought about Europe mostly because of the oil dudes and those kind of things. But because India is a growing market, then it will like be much better to enter that market than any other because of the projections and stuff. Like Europe is already evolved and is already an evolved country, so it would be better to enter the Indian market. Is it clear?
If I may complement what she said, one of our biggest concerns was DJI Innovations, the hugest company of drones in the world. And DJI had 70% of the commercial drone market in Europe. So that was a huge setback for us. So we decided to go to India, especially because of the barriers to entry. Okay.
We have 30 seconds left. Any last questions or complementary information?
If you would like to ask some questions, we're open to it.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that's it. And time is just about up. Thank you all so much for your presentation. We will see you back here in this same Zoom meeting at 12:50 p.m. Brasilia time, which is when we will begin the process of announcing the winners. Okay. So thank you again, and we'll see you soon. If you could please exit the call, I appreciate it. Next group number 517, Sophia, Artur, and Laura. So if you could all turn on your video. 3, 2, 1, good luck.
Good morning. We're delighted with the opportunity of presenting to you. I'm Sophia, he's Arthur, and she's Laura, and we are all from Brazil. Today we're here to present you a strategy to help the company ACSL to expand to markets beyond Japan. First, we'll briefly present ACSL, then explain about the market we decided to expand to, the German one, and finally describe in detail our two main strategies, as well as its risks and benefits. Next slide, please. ACSL, which stands for Autonomous Control Systems Laboratory, is a Japanese company that has been producing and promoting social implementation of customizable high-quality drones. You can see on the screen the enterprise's vision and mission statement. The mission statement is liberate humanity through technology, and the vision statement is revolutionize social infrastructure by pursuing cutting-edge robotics technology. As a reflect the belief, values, and virtues of the business, we decided to use them to help to define the company we're assisting. Next slide, please. As I mentioned earlier, we propose an expansion to Germany that is composed by two strategies. First, the ACSL will make an agreement with the German government in order to fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. Two, we use the drones in the current construction of the German railway by making a joint venture with the state-owned national railway company, Deutsche Bahn. Next slide, please. But why Germany? Germany is a leading force to Europe and to the whole world. And it is the third greatest exporter and imported and into the whole world, and first in Europe, with the electrical and electronics engineering industry sector being the most developed in Europe.
Our drones can offer a powerful solution to help stop the COVID-19 dissemination around the German territory, since they are passing through a second wave of infection. Currently, about 1,700 new cases are registered per day, according to the website Wormeter, and it keeps increasing. The biggest problem is 21% of Germany's population is composed by elders, which represents one of the biggest percentages in the world. And as shown in the graphic, the population keeps aging. Next slide, please. Considering that this group of people is the one with higher mortality from COVID-19, Our first strategy is focused on avoiding social interaction through the use of ACSL drones to deliver food and medicines. This is a fast and long-term solution, and its timeline ends with the pandemic. So here are three benefits of using PF2 medium-sized on this project. One, it can deliver parcels of up to 4 kilograms. Two, it has a high customizability. And three, the price that is currently about 28,000 American dollars in units will be even lower due to the change in the way of producing it. Nowadays, the company produces about 5 drones per month, but while expanding its market, we can increase the production by 1,000%, manufacturing 50 drones per month. That is because the plan involves making an agreement between ACSL and the German government to reduce taxes and flexibilize regulations, hence encouraging companies around the whole country to buy and use drones for delivery, increasing the number of clients and drones sold. Next slide, please.
86 billion euros will be invested by the German government in alignment with the state-owned national railway company Deutsche Bahn, also known as DB, in the rail network, according to the country's Ministry of Transport. As it can be noticed in the chart to the left, the investments in the railway infrastructure will be increased by 54% only in this decade. This sector is a good market to expand to, as using drones to map the area increases the quality and velocity of projects and facilitate the access to remote places. A joint venture happens when 2 or more businesses join to pursue a common project. So, setting a deal of this type between ACSL and DB would be immensely beneficial to both parts. In conclusion, our drones would help make the project faster and better, and the alliance with DB would provide more recognition and visibility to ACSL. Next slide, please. Now, I talk about the 2 best drones that fit in this project. First, the mini small-sized drone that costs about 7,500 American dollars per unit will be incredibly useful when it comes to map the area, as it has a camera mounted on top of the body. Also, it is water resistant and can move up to 10 meters per second. Secondly, the Air Slider is a drone that was developed in collaboration with the company NJS, as it was created with the purpose of hydraulic pipe inspection for sewage pipes. It can be really useful when used to the examination of the underground pipes that be utilized during the construction of the railway. Next slide, please.
We have considered 3 main risks and 3 main benefits related to our strategies. So now I'll hand this over to Sophia and then benefits to Laura.
The first risk involves possible competitors, because the business DHL Express and EH Hank, a Chinese company, have an agreement to make DHL's deliveries using EH Hank's drones. However, with the decreasing of our product's price mentioned earlier, this can turn our drones into more attractive ones. Secondly, having in mind that a huge part of the population is composed of elderly and conservative people, the acceptance of drones by them can represent an uncertain scenario. To solve it, many publicity campaigns will be provided to inform about the efficiency of ACSL drones in avoiding social interaction, as well as securing flying above the city. The third risk is that there are many restrictive laws in Germany for drones, so the regulations that involve the use and management of drones are a possible risk. For example, drones over 5 kilograms or 11 pounds cannot fly during the night without a specific permit. So based on that, we need to be successful in our agreement with the government in order to succeed in our implementation. To achieve this, we will consult a company called Lawyers in Germany. It specializes in financial and corporate law with a strong background in the German market. They will assist with all legal procedures related to foreign investment in Germany.
Now, I'll talk about the benefits we have chosen to highlight. First of all, according to the CEO and founder of Mundo Geo, Emerson Greenman, drones can perform many diverse functions, and that is why they can be really useful when used in countries where there is a shortage of labor. Since this is the situation of many European countries like Germany, our drones would be extremely useful. Secondly, all ACSL drones are completely flexible to be personalized based on the specific needs of each customer, which can call out the attention of the potential clients that may be tired of common purposes that may not fit their specific necessities. Last but not least, our strategies will assist in the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic, as they will help avoid agglomeration and consequently save lives. Next slide, please.
As said before, the ACSL PF2 medium-sized drone will be used during the COVID-19 pandemic for delivering, helping avoid social interaction, Its battery lasts from 30 to 40 minutes. So to make the drones more effective, more useful, a strategic charging point will be created around the whole city. Because of this, drones will be able to make deliveries throughout the whole day, increasing our product's productivity and standing out from other companies. But how is it going to happen? Well, ACSL drones are composed of a huge technology, which includes the capacity of carrying out flights autonomously, even where GPS data is not available. So the drones will go automatically to the closest charging point without necessity of any human intervention. Next slide, please.
To summarize and conclude, ACSL is a company that seeks to increase productivity, replace as many low value added and dangerous operations as possible, and promote social advancement for future generations. Based on that and all aspects mentioned before, our project is a corporate global expansion strategy that will be extremely positive for the business growth. Once applied, the initial expansion to Germany will provoke an expansion to neighbor countries in Europe and then to other places around the world, including the South Asia's market, which is already an ACSL goal by 2020. Besides, if everything goes as planned and an agreement is formed between ACSL and the German government, the company will be able to deal with any competitor that may compete for the dominion of the same market.
Finally, we believe that our strategies will develop an international lens that will build a strong presence in markets beyond Japan and eventually turn ACSL into a global company. That's our presentation. Thank you for your attention, and we hope you enjoy it.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for the presentation. My question is like, you were very specific on two usages for two applications for the drones, the COVID. So let's assume you have a vaccine for the COVID, and then let's also assume someone else gets the contract for the German roads. What else would you propose for the company, for their expansion?
Okay, so first I would say that, as we said before, we are going to provide charging points around the city. I think that is a different thing from other companies. And so that's a good point to German call us to work for them. And secondly, even though a vaccine is made, first, there is a lot of things about vaccines because they need time to test and to move on in the test and make sure that this will be good. For example, the Oxford one have a problem with the vaccine, so they're not going to use this one. So I think that still if they have the vaccine, our product will be good for the Germany.
Okay. And next question, Carol.
Can you explain a little bit more how did you get to the German recommendation? What other country did you look at? What would be your second option?
Oh, okay. Thanks, Sophia.
Yes, so we first thought about the Southeast Asia market, but as we searched a lot and we saw that the European, especially the German market, it's more influential. So if we invest first in there, we will make we influence neighbor countries in Europe, and as Europe is a leading force to the whole world, it will get more advantage. Will expand more easier if you will first invest in Europe instead of first invest in the Southeast Asia market, as we studied and also look for.
Can I just add something?
Yes, go ahead.
We have considered many places around the world, including the USA, because it's a potence and it's a lot of people would try to go there first. But the US have a market really consolidated on the drones and in technology. So there would be many competitors, and probably we wouldn't be able to overcome them the same way we would be able in Germany. Also, it's a country that will influence the others, and that has a good financial part, so they can really afford for our products and use the benefits of it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Question from Kleber.
Yeah, thanks everybody. I think it's more of a follow-up question that Caio brought up. Perhaps you can, just brainstorm now which other markets would come after Germany, and which industries would come after, disaster relief and the, project with the Deutsche Bahn railway company.
Go ahead, Laura.
Okay, so as I said on the slides, the Germany market will influence other countries in Europe because of the European Union, and they will influence them and then to other places around the world. And after the disaster, we can still go with the delivery if it works, of course. It's something that would be really innovative and useful for Germany.
Any other questions or follow-up? Okay. Any additional comments from our team? No? All right. Well, thank you all so much for your presentation. Team 9, ID number 532. That's Ana Luisa, Vinicius, and Gabriele. Can you all please turn on your video? 3, 2, 1, good luck.
Good morning, I'm Vinicius.
I'm Gabriele. And I am Ana Luisa.
We're the DLE team, and today we'll present our case solution for the global expansion of Autonomous Control System Laboratory. I'll pass it to Ana so she can start by introducing our client. Next slide, please.
ACSL is the major commercial drone manufacturer in Japan, with several partnerships and an increasing number of clients. It has two technical differentials: drones capable of autonomous flight in GPS-denied environments and completely customizable products. Another important point is that the COVID-19 lockdown paralyzed most product demonstration and production for ACSL, resulting in an operating loss of 237 million Japanese yen. Fortunately, the company had sufficient cash reserves to control the situation. It expects to fully resume its activities soon, and that a future increase in demand will compensate the drawback. Next slide, please. As we said before, our goal is to develop a corporate global expansion strategy for ACSL. In the last few years, the company has shown a healthy financial situation, and even though they have not provided us with a specific funding for expansion, we know they have $35 million in total cash reserves. When it comes to global relations, ACSL has already invested in an American company called Automodality, and it has clients and investors in the Singaporean market. Politically, tensions are rising between China and Western countries, creating a window of opportunity for ACSL to claim some of the space left by Chinese drone manufacturers in those regions. Lastly, there is probably going to be a surge in demand for drones due to the COVID-19 pandemic, as concluded in a recent survey by Drone Industry Insights, a major analytical player in the drone market we interviewed. Next slide, please.
Now let's take a look at our strategy. After talking with drone experts such as Drone Industry Insights CFO and dissecting market patterns and competitors' backgrounds, we chose to focus mainly on prospects of sales and operating profit when evaluating regions. And that's why we recommend that ACSL prioritizes the United States, but also starts consolidating in Singapore. So first of all, going to America will turn ACSL into a major worldwide player. As we can see on the chart, the American drone market has a huge current size of $6.8 billion and is expected to grow over 70% in the next 5 years. Now, thinking more on the long term, it is essential that ACSL starts consolidating in its operations in Asia Pacific as well. As shown on the other chart, the Asian drone market already has $8.6 billion in demand and is considered the market of the future, with an expected growth of over 100% in the next 5 years. Since ACSL already has connections in Singapore, we reckon that the country is the best place to start the Asian expansion. Could you pass the slide, please?
You are probably thinking, why the US? Why Singapore? What about other markets? To reach our conclusion, we have carefully evaluated many other scenarios. So let's start with Africa. Sadly, as you can see on the chart, Africa has low demand for commercial drones. Infrastructure there, in addition to political instability, culminates in a problematic scenario. Besides, Africa has restrictive regulations and a heterogeneous linguistic scenario. Now, looking at Latin America, it also has low demand and a perspective of growth that is not worth it, worsened by the low quality of infrastructure. Other points are the high political and economic instability and restrictive regulations in countries such as Argentina. Next slide, please.
Now let's follow to the Middle East.
Even though their drone market size seems very reasonable, more than 80% of the Middle Eastern drone production is military, and ACSL does not want to get involved in this sector due to ethical concerns. Most Middle Eastern countries are also involved in war conflicts and have a high political instability. Finally, Europe has both a great demand and an incredible perspective of growth. However, logistics there would be much more complicated than in other parts of the world due to a longer distance to Japan. Competition in Europe is also extremely strong, and the continent has several countries with different regulations. We recognize the solid political stability and infrastructure in this region, but our recommendation is to only expand to Europe in a few years, when ACSL will be much more ready for this kind of competition. Could you pass the slide, please?
As stated before, we came to the conclusion that the US is the best place to expand. The American drone market has homogeneous regulations and the highest national demand with a perfect potential of growth. ACSL will benefit greatly from this because the company currently has the means to produce 10 times more drones than they are selling in the Japanese market. Secondly, the US is the fourth more productive country in the world, and the current investment of ACSL in automodality should lead to many possible partners and clients. We also shouldn't forget about the tensions between the US and China, which resulted in a ban of Chinese drones, creating a vacuum of supply that could be partially filled by ACSL. And where to begin inside the US? Certainly the Silicon Valley, due to its technological perks and R&D connections. Next slide, please.
So adding to our US strategy, we also use market patterns, ACSL current business numbers, and adaptations to each country's scenario in order to forecast the American operation financial results within a 15-year horizon, as you can visualize on the charts on the right. First of all, in FY 2022, the first year of ACSL's expansion, the initial amount invested is around $17.5 million, 50% of cash reserves. During this year, we expect SG&A costs to be at a very high proportion of sales due to expenditures with promotion and initial establishment in the country. However, since the productivity in America is higher, we expect the cost of goods sold to compensate for the surge in SG&A costs. With all of this, the company is expected to have an operating deficit of $2.6 million in this year, with sales at $14.8 million. By 2030, the company will have hit over $700 million in sales, with an operating profit of $51 million. This is a very important year, so we'll turn back to this in a moment. Can you pass the slide, please?
Our expansion, as Vinicius mentioned, also includes Singapore. This is firstly explained by ACSL's main shareholder, Singapore Bench Capital, being a connection there. Moreover, according to the World Bank, the infrastructure in Singapore is great for drones. And if you take a look at the chart, Singapore has the second best doing business score in the world, which captivated us to create a commercial base there. Thinking about the demand, the country has a great one for inspection services, which is one of the main applications of ACSL's drones. We also can't forget that regulations for business in Singapore are flexible, which allow an effective consolidation. Finally, the country is one of Asia's main financial centers, making it a great first step for the expansion. Next slide, please.
So using the same idea as we did for the US forecast, we also estimated Singapore's financial numbers, which can be seen on the charts. With an initial investment of around $7 million, SG&A costs are expected to be lower, but the costs of goods sold will counterbalance this to generate a sales of $5.9 million and a loss of $1.2 million. As I said, FY 2030 is a crucial point. This is because ACSL has set the goal of $1 billion in sales by this year. And we can see Singapore's operations will already contribute to $185 million. If we combine this with the over $700 million in the US and the operations they already have in Japan, we'll be well above the line of $1 billion. This only reinforces the effectiveness of our strategy, and thus we can conclude that our solution will more than achieve our clients' quantitative goals. Next slide, please.
Looking into the future, ACSL could further expand to Malaysia, which is attractive because it's a testing ground for drones in the Asia Pacific, it's close to Japan and Singapore, and has low corporate income taxes. In FY32, we also suggest an expansion to India, which has the strongest drone market growth rate in the world. After 10 years, ACSL could continue its establishment in Asia Pacific. Australia is an adequate choice for this due to a high delivery demand and a strong drone R&D. As for South Korea, this country has one of the highest infrastructure indexes of Asia Pacific. Lastly, Indonesia already welcomes numerous foreign drone companies and is open to improving connections with Japanese businesses. The perfect time for ACSL to enter Europe and China will be after FY36. The differential of customizability and ACSL's established presence in many other global regions will make the company a strong player in both of these markets. This way, ACSL will be more than able to establish a real dominance in the global drone market.
Finally, we understand that some of our projections may have to be reviewed with new market updates. Thus, we recommend that ACSL continues to keep in touch with us so we can reassess the expansion strategy periodically. However, with the current numbers we have, we believe this is the best corporate expansion path for the company's needs. We deeply appreciate your attention and we're anxious to your questions. Thank you.
Hello, guys. Thank you for the presentation. It was very nice. Considering the US is a very competitive market, which specific applications for the market were you considering?
Yes, that's a great question. I'll pass it to Vinicius so he can answer it.
So basically, again, that's a great question because ACSL has the asset to have a very good customizability between different needs of the customers. And in the US, the main demand that they can supply is for industrial production within logistics and all that, but also inspection, delivery. All of this can be also delivered by ACSL's drones.
Great. Question from Clevet.
Yeah, continuing on the US, you guys have acknowledged that the company already has an investment in another company there. So I wonder if you can talk a little bit more about perhaps some conflicts of entering the market independently there, or even how you would do so.
Yes. So ACSL has a connection with a company called Automodality, which is specialized in robotic systems, which would be great for ACSL since they could improve their technology on drones with this partnership. But we recognize that since ACSL would be entering with this connection, the competition that Automodality already has in the US market could be a negative factor for ACSL. However, we think the US has many benefits for ACSL, especially now. This is the perfect time to expand to the US due to the US and China tensions, because the Chinese drone manufacturers are leaving the US market now. And well, ACSL has a really good differential with customizability and drones capable of autonomous flight in GPS-denied environments. So yes, there is going to be some kind of competition in the US. This is a very possible risk for ACSL. We recognize it, but there are also many possible partnerships due to ACSL's differentials.
And
just to complement, sorry. And thinking about the geography of the US, if we start the establishment in the Silicon Valley, we have a lot of advantages because there we have the technological perks, so we can take into account the possible partners and clients that are in the Silicon Valley. So this is really great.
Great. Okay, next question.
Yes, I want to know if you look at the competition and if you know which ones are the guys that should pay attention to when entering the United States.
Sure. I'll pass it to Vinicius so he can answer this question.
Yeah, that's a great question because in the US, mainly the competitors are based on are not drone manufacturers. They do accessory technology through drones, And that's great because the ACSL outsources all of their accessory technology. So that's one of the main reasons why we wanted to focus on the US. But for example, in Europe, they have Parrot, which is a drone manufacturer and is a very good competitor. And in China, for example, they have DJI, and DJI is also in China and in the US, but their drones are being banned. So that's why it is a very potential market.
Great. Any follow-up questions or additional comments?
Follow up. Why do you think the other players have not decided to build their drones there and use the suppliers as well?
Do you mean other like DJI and Parrot? You know, drone manufacturers in general?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a great question. So basically, because both of these markets are in already extensive markets. So Parrot is in Europe, and they already have enough market there. And the same thing for DJI. DJI is in fact expanding for the whole world, but because of these tensions, they're having to retract. So of course, Parrot is a potential, but it is the main potential competitor, but they haven't done this transition because they're focused in Europe probably.
Okay, thank you, Vinicius.
Thank you.
All right, I think that we're right about at time. Thank you all so much for your presentation, for your engagement. Actually, we'll just ask you all to exit this call and then come back into the waiting room. We have one more final presentation, and then we'll begin to announce the process to announce our winners. Thank you again, and we'll see you very soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have team ID number 319. That's Nissim, Ricardo, Gabriel, and David. 3, 2, 1. You may begin.
Good morning, everyone. We're from São Paulo, Brazil. My name is Nissim Sorfari, and I'm joined today by my colleagues David, Ricardo, and Gabriel. We'll be talking about some of the suggestions we have for ACSL when expanding to international markets. Our agenda consists of current situation, both of the market itself and the company, and objectives moving forward. Next slide, please. Just to give an overview of ACSL's mission and business model, ACSL engages in the development of unique customized drones, which are commonly demanded for these 4 activities below. Their business model can be divided into 4 different steps. The first is a proof of concept to show the capabilities of the company, and in this step, a fee is paid. The second step involves the development and customization of the operational system and hardware of the drone. Then the drone is implemented at small scale in the client's operations, when everything seems to work, the drone is then mass produced. Next slide.
Throughout the analysis of the case study, we noticed several challenges faced by the company. Firstly, we noticed that the drone sales is way above what they can really produce. Secondly, we perceived that most of their existing clients allocated their budgets not to steps 3 and 4, which for the sales, but for steps 1 and 2, which regard the development and production of the product. This means that they're not being able to make a good impression and close most of their deals, resulting in a decrease of 84 million yen together with the national products. Thirdly, it was noted that their operation cash flow was negative 400 million yen, and a major player in this loss was a humongous amount of taxes paid. Last but not least, we found that the drone market itself is a very competitive market. However, there are some major players which dominate part of the sector. Next slide. The past analysis was fundamental so that we better understand the macroeconomic view of the sector. To the political view, we realize that the coordination with public and private sector is essential since the drone industry is strictly regulated. Increased privacy and security concerns have slowed down growth. However, licensing and regulations have changed and become much more positive towards the drones as of recently with the coronavirus. As for the economic overview, we saw that the drone market network is expected to reach nearly $100 billion by 2025 with a CAGR of 13.8%.
When looking at the social factors that affect the drone industry, we analyze that their importance is increasing and new ways of its implementation are being looked at. An example is the use of drones to manage this year's pandemic outbreak. However, the general public had concerns on their privacy, security, and public license, afraid of an uncertain future. On the evaluation of the technological factors, we concluded that this industry evolves extremely rapidly, as the inquiry of new systems and capabilities are always taking place. For example, the study of artificial intelligence on drones. So we can conclude that investments in research and development are crucial to drone companies. Now, my colleague Ricardo will be explaining the drone competitive industry as a whole. Next slide.
To better understand the drone market, the team also conducted an industry analysis concerning Porter's 5 forces. We understood from the buyer power that limited companies have small buyer power and that the drone service in general can save a lot of money when compared to traditional service methods. Following that, under the aspect of supplier power, we saw relatively stable price, but also that geographic locations impact the price along with the technology from the drone. When analyzing substitutes, we could see that new companies are surging on a constant basis as demand increases. The barrier to new entrants show that there are shifting policies and regulations, however, low entry costs with the ease of existing technology on the market. Last but not least, we saw under competition that there is an intense rivalry between businesses with new technologies being introduced in the market and also the strong presence of governmental companies. Next slide.
The diagram displayed help us understand better some of the market trends in relation to the drone market forecast for the next 5 years. As you can see on the screen, the Asian market has shown a strong increase in capital invested and is expected to grow much more. This shows that besides being a very attractive market, they are a consolidated and homogeneous market, meaning that there are various clients and this will help us attack our sales problem. Next slide.
As previously mentioned, Asia has, in our opinion, the strongest market potential, and hence we believe it is adequate that the international expansion starts in this region. With that in mind, the group came up with 2 potential countries which would yield interesting results to ACSL. The best option to start, which is the country we will be addressing on this presentation, is Singapore. But why there? Well, Singapore has a market that is still in development and a well-known simplicity over company incorporation, low personal income tax rates, and good diplomatic relations with Japan, besides having a favorable geographic location. When thinking about that, we saw that Singapore is a country that stands out on infrastructure investment, which is very good for drone companies such as ACSL that work with infrastructure. The construction industry, for example, is valued at $27 billion as of 2017. An example of potential partnership with the client is McConnell Dowell, which is a private construction company with strong global presence focused on creative construction. Next slide.
Now that we've established where to go, it's time to determine how to gather and what to do once we're all set up. Firstly, we will begin to raise funds for the expansion in the first quarter of the 2022 fiscal year, which will be accomplished by the issuing of new follow-on stocks in the Tokyo Stock Exchange. While capital is being collected, ACSL will work to consolidate their new offshore producer in Estonia, process further detailed in a subsequent slide. Then, the drone company will begin establishing their presence in Singapore, setting up a supply chain, and more. After all of that is done, ACSL will be officially open for business in the Asian country, event of which will be supported by a marketing strategy focused on e-commerce and telemarketing. A new subscription service will also be created, which will provide, among other services, insurance and maintenance to our clients in exchange for a monthly fee paid by them. Lastly, once everything is solidified and prospering, funds will begin being collected so that ACSL can expand once more, this time to South Korea. Now, this thing will lead you to our potential competitors in this new market. Next slide.
We acknowledge the importance of market research when penetrating a new market. For Singapore, we define the following companies as potential competitors. Both Muse Innovate and H3 Dynamics offer products to cinematography, a use with a significant forecasted growth. Unfortunately, both F-Drones and Muse Innovate yearly revenue are not available to the public. Now, I pass the word to Ricardo so he can explain why ACSL should offshore their production to Estonia. Next slide.
You must be thinking, why Estonia? Well, given the high production rates in Japan, we thought that an offshore process was very suitable for ACSL. The most adequate country is, in our opinion, Estonia. As you can see in the graph, it has a high digital resonance, financial attractiveness, and a good business environment. Besides that, income earner outside of Estonia is completely tax-free. The country is also a member of the European Union, which opens borders for a possible market penetration in Europe. Lastly, it is a developed country with high-skilled labor and ocean access. And given all these aspects combined, we thought that there was no better candidate for this process. Next slide.
I will now lead you through some of ACSL's potential risks, alongside our recommendations to set problems. The customer segment identified a possible reduction of client investment. ACSL's current solution to this problem, in our team's opinion, is very poor. In contrast, we propose that the company makes available a cheaper and more accessible buy and use drone for inspection services. Our other services will still remain intact. Secondly, ACSL's current supply chain is fairly expensive and unreliable. To solve this, our team proposes that the company not only considers, but hires a backup supplier near Japan and Singapore, so that in case there is a major problem, our business operations can continue to function without a hitch. Talking about the operation process, there's a health concern towards our employees regarding the coronavirus pandemic. While we endorse ACSL's current solution, we also recommend that they work alongside the Human Resources Department to ensure that employees are mentally healthy and ready to get back to the office when the time comes. Lastly, the financial area of the business also faces some challenges. It is extremely possible that ACSL will suffer a decrease in cash due to lower sales in the near future. To counteract this risk, we'll create buy-and-use products, reduce operation costs with offshoring, and make available a subscription plan in order to expand our revenue stream. To sum it all up, we suggest that ACSL changes suppliers from Japan to Estonia, open a new headquarters in Singapore, offer cheaper drones alongside the customizable ones, and make available subscription service for our current and future clients. With that being said, I'd like to end this presentation by stating the following. We will lead the company through the uncharted waters of uncertainty by overcoming all challenges that may stand in our way and exceed all expectations. We are NGDR, and will now be answering any and all questions that you may have.
Thanks for the presentation, guys. My first question is related to offshoring manufacturing to Estonia. I know that you dedicated a specific slide for that, but what puzzles me is that the company still has manufacturing capacity, right? In the case, we can see that the company is still not using all of its capacity. So given that and the distance of Estonia from the Asian market, which seems like the market that you guys are going to focus on, why still go to Estonia?
So we decided that going to Estonia was very important because we saw that there was a very high production rate in Japan. And this was very bad for ACSL in general, as it was discounting a lot of money from its pre-tax profit. So in order to pay less taxes, we decided that we needed an offshore process. And we saw that Estonia is completely tax-free if you are an income earner outside of Estonia. And in this case, ACSL is based in Japan, so we wouldn't pay any taxes. So Estonia is known to be the only country in the European Union which is completely tax-free, for foreign countries and foreign companies. So we saw that this was a very good opportunity. And secondly, we also, as we mentioned, we also think that this opens an opportunity for a possible market penetration in Europe when the time comes, if ACSL seeks to further its international expansion. So with all that in mind, we thought that given the high production rates, the Estonia was a very good candidate. But I understand your question, and the fact is that ACSL is not producing so much drones because there is no demand. And if the demand is low and the production rates are already high, imagine when the demand is even greater, we will need to produce more drones and we will need to pay more taxes. So we thought that we needed to do the offshore process urgently.
Perhaps a follow-up question, if that's okay.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
So in the case, it seems like their capacity is like 10 times higher than what they're currently producing. So would you say that at least in the medium term, you guys would divest from Japan, meaning reducing manufacturing capabilities there?
For sure, for
Given
sure.
the cost. Okay.
That's the goal.
Next question.
Yeah.
Caio?
Yes, and considering that they already have a footprint in Singapore, and the next country you are considering is South Korea, which kind of applications and how would ACSL be competitive in South Korea? Because it's a very high technology country, very competitive. So which would be the differentials for them to enter in South Korea?
Okay, so the main differential that we see on ACSL is that it makes customizable drones. And we see this as the unique selling proposition of the company. So with that in mind, and with the fact that South Korea and Singapore are both very similar countries in the incorporation company procedures and with infrastructure in general, we saw that there was a match and we saw that there was an opportunity, given the fact that we would already establish presence in Singapore and then go to South Korea, a very similar country. And with that in mind, we saw that And given the fact that we have a very good unique selling proposition of producing customizable drones, we saw that we would be very competitive on both Singapore's market and South Korea.
Next question.
Okay,
Oops, go ahead.
I'm sorry, am I allowed to follow on this one?
Yes, quick follow-up.
Yes, and if you were to further expand to other countries, which were the other countries that you would consider after Southeast Asia?
If the international expansion in Southeast Asia is successful, we would recommend to ACSL to go to the European Union or continue its expansion on Asia. However, we do believe that there is a greater market on Europe. And given the fact that we would already have production happening on Europe territory, we think it would be adequate to do a market penetration in the European Union as a whole.
Okay, one last question from Carol. Oops, you're muted.
That's all right. Caio covered my question on the market expansion.
Okay, great. Any last comments? No? All right, I think we're all set. So I'm actually gonna ask you guys if you could just exit the Zoom quickly and then immediately come back in and hang out in our waiting room for just a couple of minutes. We'll let you guys all back in to start the process where we'll announce the winners. Thank you again. See you in a bit.
Thank you very much.
It looks like all of our judges are here with us. Congratulations everybody for participating today. Again, we were blown away by the quality of the presentations. It was such a pleasure. Also very fun to play a quick game with you guys. So I'm gonna hand it off to our judges who will announce, oops, sorry, let me just share my screen one more time. I will let our judges start and I will share my screen with the name of our winners. Oops, one sec. Okay. And the winners are all right.
Yeah. So guys, thank you so much for the presentations. We were very, very impressed with all of you. It was very hard to reach a decision. And the teams that really stand out, they were very specific on the solution, very sharp. They went through that questions. What are the markets that we're looking at? Why going to some countries and not others? What are the competitors? What are our strengths in those markets? And also on the second block of criteria for evaluation, the guys that really stand out were very, very prepared for the presentation, very paused. They knew these slides inside out. They could answer the questions confidently after presenting. And it was a difficult decision. And congrats, team number 4. I think you really did a great job on being very structured with the answer. And also congrats, teams number 6. We really liked your presentation. You guys were very, very well prepared. And congrats to all of you. It was actually a very difficult decision. So I will open up for my colleagues to talk a little bit about as well.
Yes. Hello, you all. Thank you so much for all the presentations. Congratulations for all the teams that presented today. You did an amazing job. And in specific regarding team number 4 and number 6, they were very engaged, very professional. They really addressed the issues that they were asked to address, and they were very specific on the solutions. I think it's very important sometimes when you have like such a big case like this and all the world to expand, to be specific, bring up solutions that are realistic and then can be easily implemented and will allow the company to differentiate itself from other competitors rather than to be being too broad or sometimes overly specific. So congratulations on this case competition.
Yes, thanks everybody for participating. It was a pleasure seeing all of your presentations. All of you did very well. As Carolina mentioned, it was very hard to pick the winners. But in this case specifically, As they mentioned already, the presentations were very good, well structured. You guys were very well prepared. On specifics, I think what stood them apart was their focus on the issues that were presented and the way that they structured their solution to the problem. Also, being very focused on providing innovative and realistic solutions that stood out as well. And foremost, I think the rationale behind their decisions was key for us to picking those two. So just keeping in mind that that's very important whenever you guys run these case competitions. Again, congratulations to everybody. Your hard work showed, and it was just an honor to see your work and you guys presenting.
Thank you so much to all of our participants. This has been an incredible journey. Congratulations to our 2 finalists and to all of you who participated. Thank you also so much to our judges for giving up their time to participate. They gave us great feedback. They really enjoyed listening to your presentation, so that's fantastic. As well as to our sponsors, because without judges and sponsors, this whole experience would not have been possible. So thank you so much. I would also like to thank our regional committee, which is made up of students that work tirelessly to encourage many of you to sign up for this event. So thanks to them as well. Don't forget that you guys will still have access to all of the upcoming webinars that will be available through TGCC, okay? And let's support our 2 winning teams as they prepare for the road to the global final, which will happen between October 8th and 11th and represent the South and Central America region. Hopefully we can get a winner from our region. The recording of all of the presentations of this whole day's event will be sent to you guys via email on Monday. So you all are able to look back at all of the presentations. Again, thank you so much for your engagement. This was fantastic. And I look forward to seeing you guys at our webinar or in future events and competitions that are hosted in partnership with Crimson. Take care, everyone. Thank you so much.